Welcome to the Strange Encounters podcast. This podcast is based on real events, but it represents my interpretation of those events. Some details have been adapted for storytelling purposes, and certain names, locations, and identifying characteristics may have been changed to protect the privacy of individuals involved. Welcome to the Corner House. People will try and find logical explanations for everything, like faulty wiring, mental health illness, grief, alcohol. They will tell you that you are crazy or making things up, and I tell myself those things too, but they don't explain what I saw, what we saw. The lights. The lights in the end of the terraced corner house at the back of an old abandoned pub, watching tall and narrow every corner of the roads. My friend and I walked home from the theatre, a few roads away. The show ended late, so I stayed with her. It was late enough for the streets to be empty and quiet, most probably asleep. The house always gave an unsettling energy, but on that night, it felt extremely sinister. We were both tired, so we went straight to bed. All the lights were off, and everyone else was out of the house and away. Just us two, in the upstairs bedroom, at the end of the corridor. We left the bedroom door open ajar because it never shut properly. I lay down, half asleep, when the lights began to change. It was like the light was breathing. Not on, not off, breathing. The light faded, then brightened, slowly, deliberately, like someone turning an invisible dial. There was an eerie silence. I sat up. It went on for minutes, long enough for my stomach to tighten, long enough for denial to fail. There were no dimmers in the house, just old switches that clicked too loudly. I shook my friend awake, asking, "Do you see that?" "What is that?" she whispered, panic rising. "What are you doing to the lights?" And demanding me to stop. "I'm not touching anything," I said. "I'm right here." She stared at me as I stared into the corridor, watching the lights. I clarified. "Do you see what I see? The lights dimming? Or am I just going crazy?" She confirmed as she refused to get out of bed. She demanded that I check as I am closer to the door, but also not wanting to be left alone. Regardless, I felt like I had to move. It felt worse to stay there without movement. It felt like something wanted that. I shouted into the dark corridor with my voice shaking. "Who's there?" Slowly getting out of bed and approaching the door. The lights stopped instantly, followed by an unpleasant darkness. With my heart pounding fast, I grabbed my phone from the charger and opened the bedroom door inch by inch, hiding behind it like a child. The air felt very heavy, and like something was over me. smothering me. But there was nothing. No footsteps, no air movement. I ran into the corridor switch, which was around a meter from the door, and switched the lights on. The switch worked perfectly, and nothing else happened that night. Vigilant and restless all night, I maybe managed to get 3 hours of sleep. I didn't stay often with my friend after that night, and I must admit, I have had my fair share of strange encounters before. Too many to risk another. Not until summer anyway, when university ended and I needed a place to stay for the job that I had nearby. One of my friend's housemates barely lived there, as she mostly stayed with her boyfriend. So when she offered for me to stay in her room, I hesitated, especially when she whispered to me, "I should warn you, there's something not right in that house." I laughed it off, gaslighting myself that people say things like that all the time about old places, and I needed a place to stay, and this was cheap and suitable, so I felt like I had no choice. But the first night, I felt it. My room was downstairs, second door between the living room and the stairs. No other bedrooms, just me, the kitchen, dining room, the toilet, and the darkness above. I put things in front of the door every night before I went to sleep. Heavy things that would make noise when moved. I know it didn't make sense, but it made me feel slightly less exposed. I never slept properly in that house. Always restless, watchful, and easily startled. Every little noise that the house made, I would be on alert. But when I started seeing someone, and they started to stay round, the house changed. It didn't like him. He told me before, when he'd wake up at night, he'd hear someone standing outside of the door and footsteps. He also told me a few times that he felt the mattress dip, like someone had sat beside him. I didn't tell him I felt it too. I didn't want to scare him off, or for him to think I'm crazy. I also didn't tell him that sometimes, when I was alone, the air in the room felt tight. That I felt a presence and felt watched. But that relationship went very badly. He turned out to be cruel, controlling, angry. And sometimes I wonder if the house knew before I did, and it tried to warn me. All of this was nothing. The worst night came when the visitors arrived. My friend's parents were staying over. They lived in a different country, but we all got on very well, laughed, and ate together. And yet, all evening, it felt wrong. Like a shadow had attached to me, just out of sight. We were all sat at the table, and when late evening arrived, I told them I was going to shower. But something inside of me resisted with all it could. "Don't go up," a voice whispered in my head. Not a sound. Not a thought. A certainty that I shouldn't. But I climbed the stairs anyway. Every step getting heavier than the last. And by the time I reached the top, panic flooded me so fast I nearly screamed. The feeling was primal. Like prey sensing teeth. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door. Inside, I collapsed crying, gasping, my body shaking, as if something outside was waiting for the lock to fail. I called my mum, barely able to speak. She thought I was injured, and I explained to her the feeling. She understood, as she believed in strange encounters. But even she couldn't calm me down. But when I felt like I couldn't leave, I knew it. My body refused. My mind screamed against it. Screaming danger. Danger, don't go out. After what felt like a few hours, the panic dulled. I showered quickly, eyes fixed on the tiles, on the curtain, and on my own reflection in the mirror. Anything but the door. When I finished, I procrastinated getting dressed, but I knew I had to leave eventually. I reached out for the handle and took a deep breath, but the fear came back even stronger. After a few minutes, I finally found the courage to open the door, but the door wouldn't open. I pulled, I pushed, I twisted, questioning my own ability to open the door. It was jammed, solid, immovable, like someone or something was holding it shut from the other side. I called my mum again, sobbing into the phone, begging her not to hang up. I was sure something was there. It meant to harm me. And then, without a warning, the door opened easily, as if nothing happened, as if it had decided I'd learnt enough, and the feeling I had faded. I stepped out hesitantly and flew down the stairs into the room. It was almost as if I teleported. My adrenaline levels must have been over the roof. I stayed for a few weeks more until move-out date. I had no choice. I only went upstairs when it was necessary or someone was with me. But I couldn't tell my friend about it. She would have thought I am crazy, or would have gotten annoyed that I'm trying to scare her with my stories. I felt quite alone, but I knew I wouldn't be believed. So I just tried to get on with it. I avoided going out of my room in the evenings and at night, unless someone was with me, because my room was the only environment I could control and see all four corners in. It felt safest in the whole house. Then the moving day came. I packed in stages because my car was too small for everything. On the last trip, it was already dark. I stood in the hallway and said goodbye to the house out loud. I leave everything here, I said. Everyone. But the air thickened. I felt it follow me to the door. Follow me outside. It didn't like new visitors, but it didn't like me leaving. No, I said, shaking. You're staying. I locked the door and drove away. Less than a minute later, the fear and feeling returned. I looked in the rearview mirror, and there it was. A shape sat in the middle seat. Not solid, but not clear. Just the outline of a person. A shadow. I pulled over immediately, shaking. My stomach raised all the way up to my throat, and panicked, I shouted, "You are not coming with me! You are not welcome! I banish you from my life!" And when I looked again, the back seat was empty. Nothing but the silence and empty roads around me. The presence vanished. I sat there, contemplating life, questioning my own sanity. I waited until my hands stopped shaking and I was able to concentrate. You are fine. You are sane. It's left you, I said to myself. Then I drove to the new house. I was so exhausted that I left the boxes in the car. I dreaded being on my own in the new house because my housemates weren't arriving for the next 2 weeks. But I passed out on the new bed until I woke up in the new room at 3 a.m. The feeling returned, but different this time. Creaking floor from the footsteps outside of my room. Not again, I thought to myself. Please, not again.